Alright, boys, I think today we're going to make a Spider-Man tier list of all the movies so far. Because I greatly enjoy Spider-Man. I think he's one of the best superheroes. And I think I have the license to make this list on the grounds that I've seen all these movies and enjoyed them. So, I think this is Spider-Man 2. Yeah, this is the Amazing Spider-Man 2. The one with Electro. I don't think any Spider-Man movies are going to be terrible. But this one was definitely only decent. And it wasn't, the best thing about this movie was by far Andrew Garfield, but the villain wasn't that good, the plot was subpar. I don't like when these villains have these insane abilities, like, Electro's so powerful. He can just, like, hack into a mainframe and destroy the world, basically. So I don't like that very much. Aside from that, the plot itself was bad. I think I'm comfortable with decent. Spider-Man Far From Home. I really like Spider-Man Far From Home. I thought that was amazing. I liked it better than Spider-Man Homecoming, just because Spider-Man Homecoming, I've probably seen too many times, to be honest. But this one I thought was a really good movie. They did Mysterio really well. I really liked how they kept the plot fresh. They were able to orchestrate the plot time and time again without it feeling too chaotic. You could understand what was going on, but it wasn't super chaotic. So I like that about it. I think that was a really good choice for that one. Spider-Man 3. This got a lot of bad reviews. People are saying this is the worst Spider-Man movie. I didn't think so. I didn't think it was the best Tobey Macguire movie, but I thought it was like on par with probably one. People thought there was too many villains, but I kind of liked that about it. I thought that was good that way. Obviously, the portrayal of Venom isn't that good, especially compared to what we have now. But I think that can be excused because this is like a 2013 film. They had no real groundwork to base it off of, so I think that I'm comfortable putting this is better than Amazing Spider-Man 2. I'm putting this in great. Spider-Man Homecoming. Like I said, I think Spider-Man Far From Home is better than Homecoming. I think the villain is cooler. I think the plot is more put together. I think this one had to capture Peter Parker as a high school student and learning to like use his powers and learning to like be a superhero kind of, and also fighting a villain. I thought it was a lot to juggle, and they did pretty well. But I think that was one of the faults with it. So I think it was amazing, but I'm just gonna put it behind Far From Home. All right, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the Miles Morales Spider-Man. Where would I put this? I know people loved this, and I'm gonna say I didn't love it. I didn't think it was a masterpiece. I think I'd also put this with amazing, because I think it was really good. I think the portrayal was really cool. I think the way that it was edited in the comic format was cool. Didn't love the plot. I thought it was a good movie though. I enjoyed the movie. Spider-Man. Is that 2? Yeah, Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2, I know, is widely regarded as the most popular Tobey Macguire movie, and I'm not completely positive why. I think it was a really good movie, sure, but I think Doc Ock's cool. But I think as a movie itself, it's kind of hard to watch in a way. I found it hard to watch because it was like the whole time you're just kind of like, just do something right, Tobey. Like just like get it right for once. Stop losing your battles and stop having like a existential crisis that makes you lose your webs. So I think I'm fine with putting that one in great. I don't think it wasn't as good as these two. I know this is highly regarded. Actually, I'll put it in front of Amazing Spider-Man 3. Because I think Spider-Man 3 was a little bit worse than this. Next, we have Spider-Man the Original. Look, it may seem like I'm not a huge fan of Tobey Maguire movies, but I really like Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. And I will put this in amazing on this level. I'll put it in front of Miles Morales. I'll do it. I think it was better than Into the Spider-Verse. I think the plot was really good. I thought it was a really interesting. This is the first time they've ever had a Spider-Man movie, not counting like the animated TV show from like 1960. So it was a really good, for a first shot, they killed it. They hit it out of the park. I think that it was really well done. It was a really good origin story. It showed the progression of Spider-Man really well. It also had the best portrayal of Uncle Ben, which is what actually, speaking of Uncle Ben, I'll get to that with Amazing Spider-Man, but as for like the Uncle Ben Aunt May dynamic, it really made that stand out well. It portrayed that really well. I think the death of Uncle Ben was really good. It was much better done than Amazing Spider-Man. I think that this is I'm gonna put this in front of, yeah. I think this is amazing overall. I think Spider movies are good for the most part, especially, but this was the best Tobey Maguire movie. Alright, I'm gonna save Far From Home for last. Amazing Spider-Man. I think that Amazing Spider-Man was okay. And I would think it was better than Amazing Spider-Man 2 by enough for me to move it up another tier. I think it was probably a little worse than these two, but it was somewhat on the same level. I think Andrew Garfield is a very good Spider-Man. I think that he had bad scripts both times in these movies, and they also had the worst villains. Like, if you think about it, a giant lizard should theoretically be cool. That's the kind of thing you'd be like, that's a pretty cool villain. That's an interesting fight. But they just turned him into someone you just didn't care about. Like, the villain was not, and also the villain wasn't relatable. He wasn't a villain where you're like, I can kind of see their side of the argument. He just wanted to turn everyone into lizards. He's like, it's the next step in evolution, Peter. But it really wasn't. Like, you'd be fine if you didn't. I also thought that Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, the dynamic between him and Gwen was much, much worse between Tobey Macguire and MJ. Because I thought with Amazing Spider-Man, he was just too, like, cocky. He was too headstrong. He told Gwen Stacy he was Spider-Man, like, the day after he got his powers. So I thought that dynamic was much worse done. I also didn't like the whole thing where he's constantly feuding with Gwen's dad. I just think that's a little weird. And that one scene where he's, like, getting shot by police and all these construction workers, like, let's move the cranes so he has a clear swing. Like, that was just a little cheesy to me. I think it was a little too orchestrated. I thought it was good. I'm putting it on great tier, but I did not think it was anything insane. Nothing to really write home about. Yeah, no, I said that. I do think Andrew Garfield's a good Spider-Man. But I just don't think that the plot worked for him. Spider-Man No Way Home, the only masterpiece among this tier list. Spider-Man No Way Home is by far the best Spider-Man movie out there. I am going to spoil it because it's been like 30 days, and if you haven't seen it by now, that's on you. So I thought this was a great movie. There's so much that could have gone wrong. When you're introducing multiverse and multiple timelines and different people from different universes, this is an amazing segue because there's just so much opportunity for failure in this. But they really killed it. They nailed it on the head. All the villains were done very well. It was great that they were able to get the original actors back. I think the integration of Doctor Strange is really good, which sometimes the integration of Doctor Strange is bad. It usually makes it more complicated, but this time the complications were really good. And I think the ending was really good. I think they recognized that Tom Holland had yet to make like a real sacrifice, and that to actually be among the Tobey Macguire, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, he had to see real defeat and failure. However, this movie wasn't without its faults. I do think there was some things wrong with this movie. Number one, Peter seemed to think he had a moral, Aunt May convinced Peter that he had a moral obligation to save these people. That these people, needed his help, and then since he could do it, he should do it. But these guys are all villains. They made their choice. All the other ones decided to turn to a life of crime, and then they act like it's Peter's responsibility to, help them. And then, even if he does help them, if you think about it, they're going back to their universes without their powers. He kind of didn't help them. He helped the universes they were in because they wouldn't be any more evil, but he didn't help them too much. And aside from that, it just wasn't his responsibility to help them. They turned evil. It wasn't his choice. And in helping them, he actually made his own reality worse. But I think that is a kind of thing you can look aside on. You can cast that aside. He is Peter Parker. He's trying to do the right thing. It's logical that he's going to miss the mark every now and then. But I thought that this was a great movie, a masterpiece, and I'm very confident with this list. Yeah, if you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing, and I'll see you on the next one.